So this is Ease 1. So we got our options here. Now, if I remember correctly, Ease 1 Chronicles Plus is supposed to be a re-release of a remake of another remake of the original Ease 1 and 2. So most of these options are pretty self-explanatory, except for this. You've got different soundtracks. You can pick between the newer Chronicles soundtrack or the older Ease 1 and 2 complete soundtrack, which is what Chronicles is a remake of. Or you can pick the original PC-88 soundtrack from 1987, which is what Complete was a remake of, essentially. I kind of prefer the Chronicles soundtrack myself. I like them all, but I mean, hey. Basically, what you're choosing here is your art style. You can either choose the newer Chronicles art style, or you could choose the older Complete art style. I'll occasionally show off why, like, that's there, because there's a difference, a little bit. In some ways, the difference is bigger than in others, but we're gonna go with Chronicles for now. You got your easy, normal, hard, and nightmare, but I'm just gonna go with normal. Alright, I can move around now. So I don't know what the deal with that audio clip there was in the background. For some reason, it just kind of doesn't seem to sync up right. Because it just like kind of stops when the text gets to a certain bit, or if it doesn't keep progressing. I kind of don't like it because of that, and it also sounds a little kind of generic. But I mean, whatever. So right now we're gonna get some background information, just talking to a bunch of townsfolk. And I'm gonna talk to all the townsfolk here. There's a reason for that. We'll see it a little bit later. If you talk to the townsfolk in this game, you'll hear a bunch of rumors. You just hear what they're up to and what they're doing. As you progress through the game, they also sometimes, some of them will say like kind of different things and stuff, kind of like in E6, because, well, you know, same series is also the first one. I'm not gonna go out of my way to really talk to them a whole lot, though, like I did in E6. I still will, but I'm not gonna make like a whole sequence of side videos dedicated solely to that this time. So if you talk to a lot of townsfolk, they'll give you like some background information on what's going on Asteria, or in Asteria. It's an island, so on is still correct. But you'll start to hear some rumors. You'll start to hear some stuff about thieves stealing everybody's silver. You'll also hear about all the monsters running around. You'll hear about the storm wall, which is that thing around Asteria that we saw in the intro. Basically, it's keeping everybody kind of stranded on the islands, keeping ships from getting in and keeping ships from getting out. It sounds kind of familiar. Except it's the other way around, so I guess it's kind of like a jamais vu kind of deal. You also hear some stuff about how the mayor of this epic village, which is the village we're going to get to pretty soon actually, is kind of like muttering things under his breath as he walks around. He's talking about stuff that the villagers mustn't know, and like he's keeping a secret from his villagers, and he's talking like under his breath about giving the thieves whatever they want. You also hear some stuff about how there's some mysterious guy going around in a black cape that gives off an eerie glow. So basically it's all just like some world building stuff. So this game is really short, so there's not really like a whole lot of world building to be done, I guess. The other reason I'm not going to go really out of my way to talk to a lot of these townsfolk, not because I don't like them, but because we're not going to really be with them for a while. This game is really short. There is actually an achievement for talking to everybody in the game, every NPC. And in order to get that achievement, you only really have to talk to every NPC once. And there is one NPC that can kind of screw you out of getting that achievement, because he's kind of hard to talk to, because he's always like moving around. He's always like leaving town whenever you're around, or one of the two. And then I think after a certain point, like he becomes, like he kind of disappears, like you can't talk to him anymore. But we'll get to him when we get to him. If you don't want to get that achievement, or if you already have it, then it's not really that important that you talk to everybody. So usually sometimes when I have to do this, when I do this part, and this is kind of important, you want to actually talk to everybody in Barbado, but sometimes when I do it, I usually like miss one or two, and embarrassingly enough, sometimes it's one of the people who are indoors, and the people who are indoors, they generally don't move outside of their house, unless you advance the story, and then that actually changes where the NPCs are, like what their routine is going to be. For example, after you beat a boss later, the little boy from that house and the little girl from the other house, like they're walking around Barbado together after you beat a certain boss. So they do move around, they do stuff like in E6, but they're and you can talk to them all if you want. They're just a little harder to pin down because they just kind of move around willy-nilly, and I'm making another run around just, like, making sure I got everybody. And I think I did. There's one more guy in here, and then there's the guy on the roof. Another one of the things you'll hear from the townsfolk is that the children aren't allowed to play out in the fields because it's just way too dangerous, because with all the monsters running around lately. You also hear occasionally about these 2 giant trees. But here's Slav for now. He's going to give us some more background information. So if you talk to everybody in Barbados, Slav will tell you how you got an iron will, and he'll tell you Destiny's got great things in store for you, and he'll give you a free short sword. If you don't talk to everybody in Barbados and then talk to Slav, you don't get a free short sword. You'll have to buy it later. Which is kind of a waste if you can get it for free. If you don't talk to everybody in Barbados, then he'll just kind of send you off as usual. He won't give you a sword. And that's kind of how you know you missed somebody. So this is what the artwork option does. It changes his artwork. I don't have a preference, I just usually leave it on Chronicles, but there is some stuff, there's some interesting stuff that happens when you have it on complete. There's one thing later I definitely want to show off with that. Also, remember to equip your stuff, because it doesn't equip automatically, because, like, you know, the RPG. That should be obvious, but, like, hey. Also, manual saving. You gotta save everything yourself. There's no save spots like there are in some of the later Ys games. Oh, the bump system. So I actually really like the bump system. That's the combat system in this game. There's no attack button in this game. The way you attack enemies is just by running right into them. You don't want to run into them head on though. You want to go kind of off center, or else you'll end up being the one getting hurt. As I'll demonstrate right now, I guess. If you get hurt, then you can just stand still in the field and you'll recover health slowly. So there's no need for like potions or anything, even though you can buy potions from the doctors. You don't want to go diagonal because sometimes, depending on the way the enemy hits you and the way you hit the enemy, it can count as auto getting hit from the side, which can actually do more damage. So, you just want to go in a straight line. Just think of the enemies as like kind of square sprites, and then just go for the corners. That's kind of like the best way I can describe them. Like squares and rectangles, and go for the corners. You can move around with a stick, or you can move around with the D-pad. I usually move around with the stick when I'm moving around, but when I'm attacking enemies, I use the D-pad. Grinding isn't so bad, because all you have to do is just run into enemies, and auto runs at like 90 million miles an hour in this game, so backtracking isn't so bad either. If you press the information button, then you can display information. You'll see things like Otto's level, his class, and his stats. You also see his health and what he's got equipped, but his health and experience, like, you can also see that on the display below. So in this game, I'm pretty sure Otto's still supposed to be like 17. He's still kind of a baby boy. So he's young enough for Julius here to be like, hey, don't go out there. But he's old enough for him to be like, oh, nah, never mind, it's okay, kid, just be careful. So I didn't explain the story too much because, like, I didn't make a separate video for that like I did for Ark of Nepishtim, because this is the first game. There's a whole lot of context to be had. Basically, Otto was inspired to go on his own adventures from hearing stories from like traveling merchants and such. And he heard about Asteria, and he wanted to see it for himself. And that's basically it. That, along with all the other rumors and stuff that I mentioned that the townsfolk talked about before, all that kind of culminates in what's going on here. Or all that kind of comes together, rather, to kind of make what's going on here. Basically, there's monsters running around, there's some thieves stealing silver, and there's some mystery man running around, and let's get to the bottom of it, is basically the story. There's also a lot of talk of like destiny and stuff in this game, although that kind of goes out the window in the later games, because like Otto as an adventurer, he kind of just like answers the call to action. Like, regardless. Also, that chest looks like it's open and has nothing in it, but it actually does. It's a weird graphical thing. I don't know why it does that, but it does have something in it. So, the reason I'm not going to Minea just yet, I'm not going to the first town just yet, is because right now I'm doing a speedrunning tactic, while also grinding. I'm not doing it to speedrun, I'm just doing it to speed some stuff up. Which is why I'm also taking time to grind. These wolves also take half your health. You want to be careful and don't get hit by them too much, because 2 hits from them will kill you and you'll have to start over from wherever you last saved. So the key to this speedrunning tactic here is to just make a beeline for this little thing shining at the bottom of the pond. It's just a golden vase. So, there's a few items in this game that don't really do anything. They serve no purpose other than to just be sold for gold. The golden vase is one of those, and it's also the most expensive of those. But you can also get a little bit more gold for it if you do another trick. We'll get to that later, though. Right now I want to get to that chest that looks like it's open and has something in it, but it actually does have something in it. After I beat this guy, I guess. Here's the bestiary potion, so I'm just going to go into item real quick, and I'm just going to equip that. And then I'm going to drink it. So when you drink the bestiary potion, it basically just makes it so that the game displays monster stats. Displays their name, it displays their stats, so basically bestiary information. You can actually set the game so that it hides that display if you don't want to see it, but my game has it set to show it. So the reason I'm doing so poorly is because all I have is a short sword, and the reason I get damaged so easily is because I'm not actually equipped with any armor or a shield. Oh, also when you die, you have to load from a game, like I said before. There's like no checkpoints or anything, just gotta load from your last save. So the reason I'm doing this is just to streamline some stuff later, because the next thing I have to do costs money, and the more money I have, the better. So, for right now, I'm just going to go back to where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to grind to level 2 along the way, but nobody wants to see that, so I'll just skip that.